There's a great piece at blackandright.com by Bob Parks, and he talks about the circumstances involved.
In the last couple of years since I moved here, we always have really great conversations.
Is that something?
You know? And
come over to my side.
Don't push it.
Of course, man. Even my people say, "You look so mean on TV." I said, "That's what I'm doing, man."
Well, now, is that your on-air persona? Because you know Ellis Hunnigan?
Yeah, I know Ellis. Yeah.
Okay, with Newsday?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many televisions I would have loved to destroy watching him.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
Right.
But I met him at a function in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
The nicest guy. Go out and have a beer with him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, obviously, if you and I are on TV talking, we could disagree, but we could be civil.
Right.
But if they're putting you up against some silly person on my side or some crazy person on your side, it's going to be crazy.
And that's what they go for, because that's good television.
That's what it is. But I talked to, Ann Coulter and I appeared on Today's Show. People thought we were going to rip it. We were like being civil and hugging. Oh, my God. Because we're civil. We just strongly disagree.
Right.
But we ain't got to be. But irritating you is my job, and irritating me is your job. So that's what we do. All right. So I might at the end, if we got some time, ask you about that, so you can, tell me about the chimpanzee and say what you got to say. All right, defending your tribe, so to speak.
Sometimes there's things you can't defend, and I'm not even going to try.
There you go. I mean, of course, that's what I knew you'd say. Let me just get my clock together here. Okay, here we go. I don't have 80 hours on there. All right, cool. So the young man who doesn't need a loan is going to tape us. Yo, man, you teach us, bro. Don't brag about you don't need no money. Yes, Dad, I need cash. Always, bro. Even when you don't, you got to stock it up for a rainy day.
We'll explain that line at some point.
All right. So we're going to get started 12 minutes, and we'll go through this one.
Welcome to the Michael Eric Dyson Show. Later in today's show,
we revisit an 54321.
We revisit an innovative program that teaches young African American men how to create rather than just consume video games. And we launch our Wednesday listening party. Starting today, each week we'll introduce you to an independent artist that we love, and we'll offer a chance for new artists to join the party as well. All that and much more still to come in the show today. But first, a new Washington Post ABC News polls for 54321 poll finds that the economy continues to damage President Obama's approval rating. Meanwhile, this week, congressional Republicans return to their home districts to garner support for Paul Ryan's deficit-cutting plan, and the president takes his fiscal responsibility message to the West Coast. Here with a Republican look at politics this week is Bob Parks, creator of the Black and Right blog and senior video producer at the Media Research Center. Bob, welcome to the Michael Eric Dyson Show.
Dr. Dyson, it's a privilege to be here again.
Thank you, my friend. It's always good to have you on.
Despite the fact that we don't see a whole bunch eye to eye, we at least can talk ear to ear and be civil, and that's a beautiful thing.
Ravens fan.
Well, okay, that's Carlos. Me, I guess I'll take the Ravens over the Skins, but I can't say that in public.
Look, a new Washington Post ABC News poll shows that only 42% of Americans approve of the president's handling of the economy, and this has been significantly impacted by the recent rise in gas prices. So how would you say the president is handling the economy right now?
I think he's having way too much of a hands-off approach and just allowing other people to dictate it, such as Harry Reid. In the Congress, Nancy Pelosi is pretty much of a no-show. His economic advisors are not giving him the best information or advice when he's going off on trips, when things are happening, whether they be in the Middle East. Some of these things are affecting gas prices. We could be at war. We could have squabbles on different kinds of issues. But as soon as you start messing with gasoline, and that affects everything, it affects food prices, it's going to adversely affect your approval ratings. And I don't know how he's going to recover from this until he opens up drilling like he did where he applauded Brazil for drilling in the Gulf. I think he should open up our areas so we can drill, and that would have an almost not immediate effect, but it would give some confidence to the oil markets and would start bringing down the gas prices, because I'll tell you what, we start hitting $5, $5.50 by not this November, but next November, he's toast.
Yeah.
Well, we'll certainly see that. That certainly makes sense. That if you're talking about $5 a gallon, you could have whoever in Superman could be in there. You might have to go back to being Clark Kent.
This week, House Republicans approved Representative Paul Ryan's Path to Prosperity deficit-cutting plan. This plan certainly has been embraced by some on the right, but has been seen by progressives and liberals and others as not brave at all. Some people said it was brave, and they said, what's brave about making poor people bear the burden of the economy by slashing all of these social programs and not asking the rich and the very upper echelon of America economically to tighten their belts and to pay their way? What do you say about that? Do you think Ryan's budget is one of fiscal integrity and conservatism, or do you think there's some stuff that he could retool there?
Well, unfortunately, I think we're in a situation where everybody's got to feel the pain. Now, there has been an article that came out, in fact, it was in cnsnews.com within the last day or so, where if you added up all the wealth by all the wealthy people who make, I think it was $300,000 a year or more, you took all their money and you put it toward the deficit, wouldn't pay it off. Mm-hmm. So taxing the rich alone is not going to help it, especially if you're taxing the people whose very wealth is needed to eventually, once there is some stability and when there's confidence in the economy again. Right now, there isn't a lot of confidence. I mean, look what happened with Moody's and Standard & Poor's yesterday. Mm-hmm. Without that kind of stability, you're going to tank the economy. So you can't tax the rich.
But they're going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But they're going to say by the same token.
Let's just say what you said is absolutely correct. Well, my God, how much less can you put the burden on poor people by snatching away the programs that offer them at least a small portion of hope in this economy where they need help the most? I mean, so by that logic, it makes no sense to then slash and burn all of these social programs for poor people.
Well, and that's a totally valid point. One of the things, now I've run for office a few times, haven't won anything because obviously I look at I'm sitting here right now with you.
Two losers, huh?
But one of the things that's always fascinated me is just the amount of disrespect the government on state and federal level has for our tax dollars when it comes to that one column in the ledger that's always left blank, but you know it's there, and that's the column of waste. You look at how much money these people send out the door all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just had that government shutdown, near government shutdown last week. And you have two classes, or I guess, I'm trying to be careful using the term class. Mm-hmm. You have two groups of people. One group they call non-essential. If they're non-essential, why are we paying for them?
So, non-essential, you were speaking of...
Well, I mean, I didn't classify them. You would think if we are paying our tax dollars.
But non-essential, so non-essential...
So your point is that the non-essential stuff needs to be cut. And I don't think anybody would argue with that. Here's the point, though.
We don't know how much we're talking about, though. It could be a small amount.
Right.
But over the course of decades, where there are people who are probably living good wages off of this...
But we know extending tax cuts for the wealthy is something we could cut. Now that's something we can empirically verify. We could say that, right?
But
we could say that as opposed to slashing and burning some programs that help poor people who, relatively speaking, are getting such a small percentage of the economic pie to begin with.
But then that's a lot of good, that's a lot of good talk as far as, we got to tax the wealthy. Modi came out with this video last week and he was leading the charges saying that the wealthiest people in this country really need to contribute more. Mm-hmm. Cool, okay? I think they tried this and it was either Arkansas or Tennessee, where the governor said, hey, if you are wealthy and you don't think you've paid your fair share, here's a special fund you can send your checks to. And I think they only collected like $3,000.
Oh yeah, okay? Yeah. The church collection route ain't gonna work.
Okay, so
that's why we have taxes.
So for all these people who are talking this good game, and there's a lot of people in the entertainment business who are Obama supporters or Democrats and are agreeing,
but they want to do it fairly. Because otherwise, look, if Donald Trump doesn't want to pay his taxes, But say Bob,
But he's not opening his mouth and saying,
No, he's opening his mouth, but he's not saying that.
Yeah,
But you're right. But my point simply is this, is that if it's going to be fair, then if we have something that a class of people, the class of the rich, 300,000 and above, the wealthiest Americans pay their share and bear the burden, and to whom much is given, much is required. If we can do that, then the rest of America seems to be better off. What happened to altruism? You're a very decent human being, quite frankly.
I try.
You are. And, obviously you're a man who happens to agree with many of the Republican principles, but you're also a feeling, thinking, altruistic person.
Mm-hmm.
How can we reconcile some of the most mean-spirited stuff that comes out that really doesn't want to take into account the disproportionate burden that the poor already bear and the disproportionate advantage that the rich receive beyond class, beyond Republican versus Democrat? How about just being human about the distribution of wealth and trying to figure out ways we can redistribute some of that pain?
Well, look, we're in a public place right now, public forum, so I don't want to guesstimate as far as our ages, but I think we're pretty close to...
I'm 52 years old.
Exactly right on the money.
Okay.
Yeah. Now...
Well, you just look better than me. Don't worry. I'm glad you didn't brag about that.
Anyway, when we were growing up, there were certain things that we took for granted, as far as, for example, did your mother or father or whoever give you that bag lunch to take with you to school?
Absolutely.
So it wasn't dependent on the school to provide you with a lunch.
Well, when I got to school, though, I did have free lunch, and I got the first class of free lunch, so I must tell you that.
I do remember when they started, it was $0.25 in Massachusetts.
It was cold chicken. I remember that to this day.
Okay. I think we had hot spaghetti.
Oh,
but,
man.
But the point is...
Bostonites.
But the point is, there was a whole generation or two or three or four where parents took the responsibility of giving their kids food to bring to school.
But don't you think, Brother Parks, don't you think the parents who do?
Okay, and so why is it the responsibility of everybody else to pay for the lunches and breakfast in almost all cases of children going to school? Isn't that the job of the parents?
But if you're in an economy where the parents are doing poorly, because we see this during relief, we saw this during, the time of the Great Depression. We saw now we're still at the back end, but still a horrible recession in this economy, a depression for many. We know that poor people, Latinos, poor white people, poor African Americans, and others are disproportionately affected by what is already a poor economy. When it gets worse, they get worser off. Mm-hmm. So the point is that, but for those who don't have, certainly they need to be benefited and advantaged in a way that says we're not going to be killed if we have a breakfast or a lunch for those kids, because here's the ultimate payoff. They do better in school, they get better educated, they go on to get better jobs and better, there's a relationship between education and the kind of jobs they're able to get as a result of having their mental capacity strengthened because they've eaten a healthy meal. You're not against that.
No, I'm not against it, but
right.
that's my responsibility as a parent to make sure.
But what about if you can't even eat? What are you going to do with kids who can't eat? Are you going to punish them because their parents are incapable of providing for something for them? I know you're not. I'm just saying, what do we do about those people?
Okay, and because
politics is about the hard questions.
But you've also heard the expression of personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
I as a person with a conscience, I can't expect you to raise my child.
We're not talking about raising kids. We're just talking about a lunch and a breakfast.
No, well, I'm sorry. That's part of raising a child, because that's something that you're supposed to do as a parent. We have so much in this country abdicated so many of our responsibilities.
But we're going to punish the kids, though. My point is, are we going to punish the kids?
I'm not saying we should punish the kids.
So you would provide for them?
Obviously, we do. Mm-hmm. We are a benevolent country, but also, if you've read a lot of the reports too, a lot of that food winds up in the trash.
Yeah, well, now we're talking about, and I'm not against tightening the belt to deal with waste. You're absolutely right there.
Waste is the thing that is the most insulting to me.
That waste is incredible. And look, you're the guest, not me. So let me give you the last word. What do you think we do, given where we are as a nation? Obama's numbers are going down, but there's no Republican on the other side. I just want to ask you in closing, because you're a thoughtful, reflective man.
There's no Republican on the other
side who looks like he or she can really present right now, a challenge to Obama in a credible fashion. Do you disagree with that? And if so, who do you think is out there who could challenge?
It's very early right now because
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to Fox News on the way, and I know you'd probably expect it
Jeez,
of
I'm
me.
surprised.
And they were talking to Karl Rove, and he was saying that they were talking. We had the same discussion,
Right.
and they were having the same discussion where, at this juncture, the last presidential election, when Hillary Clinton was polling around 30%, Barack Obama was around 27%. Nobody knew who these people were. It's still early in the game. I have my personal preferences. As flawed as he is, and as crazy as he is, I think
Ron
Trump.
Paul?
I think Trump.
Oh, my
no,
God.
no! Don't even get started on the Paulies.
Okay.
Those people are crazy. No, I think Donald Trump would be extremely entertaining, and I think he will shake things up. I don't think he's as. I don't think he'd be as crazy as Ross Perot with Colombian hit squads going after his daughter's wedding or anything.
Now,
like
what
that.
are you talking about Ross Perot like that?
I did vote for the guy. Okay.
Oh, let's hear it. This is Bob Parks. Despite that last comment, he's a great guy. As creator of the Black and Right blog and senior video producer at the Media Research Center, and despite being a Boston fan, he's a good human being. We're going to forgive him for that major sin. Bob Parks, always good to have you on the Michael Eric Dyson Show, and come back soon.
I would be honored. Thanks again.
Thank you, my friend.